Nintendo just released their financial information through the end of 2023, and I think the big question here is, will the Switch outsell the lifetime numbers of the PlayStation 2? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And I looked at this topic about 6 months ago, but I thought I'd take another look at it now that we have some updated numbers from Nintendo. But before we get to the answer as to whether the Switch will become the best-selling console of all time, we need to take a look at some of these financial numbers. And I'm not going to go through all the dry numbers here. If you're interested in that, I have a link to the document in the description below. But first, let's take a look at the highlights here from the Nintendo presentation. You can see that their hardware sales over the last 9 months of 2023 were down 7.8%. However, this was better than Nintendo had forecasted. They even increased their forecasted Switch sales from 15 million units to 15.5 million units this fiscal year. And when you look at the breakdown here of sales, the Switch Lite was the only model that saw an increase in unit sales when you compare that same October, November, and December timeframe of 2023 to 2022. And I'd pretty much attribute that to those two Animal Crossing Special Edition Switch Lites. Nintendo's had a lot of success extending their hardware sales with these special editions. Now, over on the software side, Tears of the Kingdom has surpassed 20 million units, and we see Super Mario Bros. Wonder has reached almost 12 million units in less than 3 months. Now, remember, there were a lot of headlines on many game news sites about how Spider-Man 2 had outsold Mario in the first few weeks of sales because they released on the same day. However, I do have to wonder how Spider-Man 2 is doing now. Maybe we'll get those numbers from Sony sometime, but I always had the feeling that Super Mario Bros. Wonder would be like an evergreen title and would just continue to sell, while something like Spider-Man 2 is something that current PlayStation 5 owners were hungry for and would buy en masse right at the start. And still taking a look here at software, it's worth noting that 17 Nintendo titles and 7 titles by other software publishers have reached the million unit sales mark. And one of those here, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, has surpassed 60 million units sold. Now that puts the game 6th all-time on the best-selling game software list, with Wii Sports being the only Nintendo game that's above Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, having 82.9 million units sold. And next, let's take a look at the hardware sales for the past 7 years, only looking at that 9-month period from April to December, since that is what we have in this latest financial report. And you can see the decline over the past 3 years in Switch sales, although I'll point out that the decline was not as steep in 2023 as it was in the previous 2 years. And again, I think that's due to these special edition consoles that Nintendo comes up with. And on the right here, Nintendo points out how their annual playing users continue to rise. So more and more gamers are continuing to play on Nintendo's platform. And then let's take a look at digital sales. I wanted to point out one thing here. If you compare downloadable versions of packaged software, now that would be the blue area on this graph, and this is just games that offer a physical version, say like Tears of the Kingdom. You can see that the sales percentage went down over the last quarter when you compare that to the same quarter last year. And again, that's the Christmas time sales, that October, November, and December period. Now these numbers are comparing revenue and not units sold, so it's not really a one-for-one comparison. You could have a different price on the digital software than you have maybe on the physical. But I think it's good for those of us who like physical games to see that digital sales were sliding a little bit. So, after we highlighted all these other different sales numbers, let's take a look at will the Switch outsell the PlayStation 2's lifetime numbers. And you can see here the Switch has sold 139.36 million units. And the PlayStation 2 sold a minimum of 155 million units. And I say minimum because Sony stopped reporting the number of sales even though they still continued to sell PS2s. But this is the last official sales numbers that we have for the PlayStation 2, so we'll just have to go with that for now. Now, if you look at Nintendo's estimated sales through the end of March this year, they would reach 141.12 million units if this happens. And Nintendo would need to sell another 13.88 million units to reach 155 million units. Now, considering that sales have been trending down, it would probably be early to mid 2025 before they could reach that number if sales numbers continue the same trend. However, if we do see a Switch successor get released this calendar year and it has backward compatibility, it seems to me like it would be hard for the Switch to sell nearly another 14 million units to reach that 155 million unit mark. I would expect Switch sales to drop dramatically when Nintendo's next system gets released if it has backward compatibility. And we've seen these rumors that Nintendo is planning to have 10 million Switch 2s by March of 2025. So if the Switch 2 does have backward compatibility, there's going to be plenty of units out there for people to grab rather than grabbing the original Switch, which in turn would make it difficult for the system to reach that 155 million unit mark. But let me know your thoughts below. Do you think it's just destiny that the Switch is going to surpass the PlayStation 2 in sales? Or is it looking more like a long shot, especially if the Switch 2 has backward compatibility, for the Switch to become the best-selling console of all time? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.